Thanks,
to know.
thanks for the warning, right, Al? You're gonna be alive, Al.
It's helpful. Good morning, this is Monday, April 1st, 2019, meeting of the Ad hoc Harwich Port Parking Committee. Call to order to let everybody know, recordings and tape notifications are required by law. The town may audio or video record the meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. This time, I'd like to take a moment to have the committee introduce themselves. Starting at my left,
Michael Ulrich.
John Mahan?
Al Donahue.
Cindy Williams.
All right, thank you. First order of business is going to be the meetings of our March 19th meeting.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, new business. Future meeting date, April 16, 2019. So we meet with the Board of Selectmen regarding our findings. Recommendations, I should say. Does anybody have anything other than that to discuss right now? Not on the minutes?
I don't know if everybody
No.
looks at me.
Not in the minutes, anyway. Has everybody had a chance to review the recommendation that we are submitting to the board?
That is the latest version that I put in front of everyone
Okay.
that Charlene sent me prior to her going out. So this is what we had discussed at the last meeting.
All right. What we had discussed last meeting as well was regarding once this is presented to the board, during that presentation, we had kicked around the idea of the business community, obviously, an attempt to have the business community get on board with regard to supporting it financially for the shuttle. The other question we have been discussing ad nauseum is as to how to get the employees to become partners in this with the employer. We're still on board with using some type of 2-hour notification to a violator in the parking lot.
That is the recommendation that we're, in our recommendation here,
Right.
that we were doing the limit of 2 hours for
Okay.
that public.
And as I recall, our last, well, almost last time we met, was that in the hopes that the employees, once they receive these citations, will talk to their employer and thus help us, or the board, convince the employee to use the satellite parking on Bank Street. Beyond that, that's about the only push I think we have.
So this morning, prior to coming over, I did receive from Cape Destinations, they've been away and a couple of other things, but I did get a quote from them. And I had sent them ideas after receiving from the area businesses what their shifts were and how many employees that did use the public lot currently. So we've come up with an 8:30, an 11 a.m., and a 4 p.m. Time frame. 3 transfers per day. Normally, this ranges from 400 to 500 per day, but the owners of Cape Destinations were very passionate about this and wanting to support the community. So the reduction that they've done is going to be their sponsorship for this. It will be $250 per day for a 20-person shuttle service. If we base it on a June 1st through Labor Day, roughly about $21,000. So my next thought was, now that we have this, is to then approach a variety of the businesses and see if any would like to be sponsors of this, with maybe banners on the shuttles to advertise, you know, compliments of whoever, and see if we can defray that cost a little. Other than the other option may be that the employee has to pay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what other way to go with it. You know, as we all know, this is new this year, so there's not anything in the town budget, and certainly, you know, the chamber is going to be helping coordinate this, but as a nonprofit, there's not a budget for that as well. But certainly have no problem, you know, walking around and trying to drum it up somehow. So, you know.
I think at a board, we're doing the best we can to make this non-punitive. That's the idea of trying to get people on board. The aspect with regard to the merchants, do you think they're all keenly aware of the limited parking that is now going to be out there?
So I haven't sent another email out to them, other than the couple that have been sent out, and the conversations regarding coming to the meetings to find out what was happening and to let me know what you have for shifts and all that. After receiving this, I think my next step today would be to send an update on parking, just awaiting confirmation from our presentation to the Board of Selectmen, more information to follow. There may be some sponsorship opportunities. I mean, I don't know, I really have to think it through of how I want to do it. Or it may be just wait until after April 16th. I can just do a quick, we'll have more of an update on the parking after April 16th with our presentation to the Board of Selectmen, more information to follow, and then do it that way.
The season actually begins, at least by some friends that are in the business, about the 13th of April, since some of the businesses are opening up. And the other thing is that the merchants have to be aware, particularly the hot stove and those in that close proximity, that lot that has been traditionally used by the public is going to be unavailable.
Right, and it you know, I had, in my overzealous positive spin, that has always been perceived as public. It's not public, and
Right.
It's owned by someone that owns the building, and, you know, there are others that are on the outskirts that have easements and all that other stuff that goes along with it. So that's not even on the radar. And I want to apologize for letting you guys think that, or know that I was going to reach out to Mr. Manning. I can't. It's his property. He, you know, had agreed on other things. How that is handled, we need to let that fall. But again, as this is, you know, I keep joking that this is the year of educating. It's kind of like the, you know, the Chinese New Year, the year of the pig, the snake, whatever. This is the year of educating. And we've got a couple things in town that we're going to be educating people on. Parking's a big thing this year. So we have secured after 5 parking at both the banks. So we're going to have that we can put into, and I think we have it in our presentation that we'll discuss at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. But that building in that area needs to be out of everyone's radar, because it's not public by any means.
Do the merchants, excuse me, do the merchants in the area realize that?
They have been told on many occasions, you know, without having signs lighting up like Vegas, certainly, you know, we do need to just continue to get it out there. And I have mentioned it to a number of the businesses to please have people use the public parking, you know, get it on their radar, because, you know, some businesses were using the parking lot, we'll refer to it as the old Sword and Shield, because that's usually what most people know it as, but where the Mad Minnow and 10 Yen, that parking lot, that is for those businesses. So the parking lot where my building is, the public parking lot, is the public parking. So that's what everyone needs to know, and really should get using now. If they haven't started to, they really should get into,
Yeah.
you know, we all, you know, yes, you don't wanna park, you wanna park closer to where you're going, but we need to remember that there are businesses in some of these private lots that are being affected by it, and it's, you know, it has affected their business, and we all want our businesses to thrive like they have been, but we need to work together on helping everyone understand it too.
Absolutely. I noticed the other day in the paper that the H-2B visas have been increased.
Yes, I saw that, I was thrilled to hear that.
That would be somewhat of a plus. I already know a few, at least one merchant, I won't say a few, at least one merchant who's having trouble already. And they hope to open up within another 2 weeks, but they're having a tough time. I don't know if
That
across
was
the
actually
board.
really good news to hear, but I
Yeah.
think it won't be that first batch, it'll be the second batch that usually comes, that'll, I think, affect, I don't think it'll be the first batch.
All right, so is it, it's fair to say that the board, I polled the boards, are we all in favor?
I have some questions on that,
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
go right ahead.
Did I hear you correctly? You said 8:30, 11, and 4?
Yes, would be, so like, if you're working a 9 o'clock shift, you would get picked up
Yep.
at the 8:30. If you're doing, say, a 12, like a lunchtime, it'd be an 11 o'clock. If you're doing a 5 o'clock dinner shift, it'd be 4 o'clock.
What about the end shift? So these people are expected to walk back to Bank Street at 11, 12 o'clock in the dark? By them, I mean,
Right. I have to figure that piece out.
Mr. Chairman? I think that, first of all, I don't think that this is gonna be implemented this year as far as the
No.
shuttle goes. I think everybody's gonna take it as kind of a personal assault, why should I pay for this? I think opening up that parking lot and giving them the idea and just educating the employers that this is an opportunity for you to alleviate some of the parking constraints in Howardsport, opening it up to your clients.
Right.
Because that's who they wanna serve, right? They don't really care if it affects somebody else, right? So in other words, to your employees, find a place to park. That's your problem, I don't care, just find your place to park and be here at 4 o'clock, I need you for this shift. That's your problem. But if we educate them as to the benefit for them to get their employees to park, use this spot, it's not that far. I mean, you could even have a couple people carpooling,
that's what I
just
just
to,
wrote down. Carpool's a great idea.
right, to eliminate some of that,
That's where I think I was
Need.
thinking for the end shift, because it's hard to say like that. Say you get out at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking that people would do, is like walk together, you know, because I knew that it was gonna be a hefty price. Like I already had my
Yep.
idea, that, yeah,
And
sorry.
then the other piece with that end shift is that most of the parking is alleviated after 5 or 6 o'clock. The lots aren't as heavily utilized, especially that annex lot and so forth. It's during the day when everybody's the crunch, right? Because most of the people.
Some dinner crowd though, there is, I mean,
Right, but a lot less. And what we've been facing is people using that lot for the beach.
Mm-hmm.
So with the 2-hour honor system type of thing of the signs, I think that's gonna alleviate a lot of that, not all of it, but probably a lot of that. So we won't have that kind of overload that we've had in the past. And then educating the employers on the opportunity that's been created for them at this annex lot. So I don't think that the shuttle piece is even gonna be, for this year anyways, a feasible
No, no it's not.
solution. Yeah.
I think the education part now becomes, maybe it's one more step. Maybe it's the 2-hour plus the carpooling.
Right,
Because if you're both coming in at 11, for an 11 o'clock shift and you're done at 4,
right,
so 3 of us meet at the fire station.
right.
And you're driving together. So we just gained, even if you gain 50% of the spots.
Right, it's huge.
Plus the 2-hour parking,
Right,
I think, and I'll defer to Cindy, she sees it, that would pretty much eliminate the problem,
Mhm.
right?
The beach and
The 2-hour
definitely
and
the
some
employment.
carpooling.
Yep, absolutely. So
With
now.
more money.
right.
So am I hearing you guys correctly, we're not gonna go forward with the shuttle for this year? We're going to then, as we start to educate and getting the information out to the employees, or the employers rather, we're going to let them know of the new, off-site parking, that there is a 2-limit parking at the public parking lot, so we suggest highly that they use that, and then do carpooling, correct?
Well, I think that everything goes in front of the select.
Well, right, yes,
Yeah.
I just wanted, because I don't wanna hold on, I don't wanna take away from any business that Cape Destinations could be possibly turning away as well.
Right,
So-
correct, I just don't think that, I mean, if everybody gets on board and says, you know, the selectmen say, yeah, that sounds great, and everybody gets on board and says, sure, we'll pony up the money, otherwise, I don't think it's fair for the chamber to be trying to drum up business to pay for this thing, I think that's just
Well, there
another
wasn't-
added piece, you know, for you to have to deal with, the
I
chamber
think we
to
had
have to deal
started to discuss that early on, that because there wasn't money in the town, that was really the only way, since we have all the Harwichport businesses are members, to get that information out, that's what we were thinking of doing. So that's how I became the ringmaster of parking.
I don't disagree. The only suggestion I would make, given we have this plan that we, for the most part, we agree on it, but John brings up, and Mike brought up 2 very good points with regard to carpooling. Cindy has already made it quite clear that this is gonna have a learning curve. And it's probably not gonna be this season, as the both of you has said as well. What I am thinking, though, using this proposal that we have to the select board, have it go in as we have spent time doing.
I agree.
And during the presentation of this, giving them the option, and that's all it is, 'cause this is just a recommendation, we have no influence on it whatsoever. But what was brought up with regard to the carpooling as being an option for either this season or next season, and giving them the time to, and of course it falls back on you, Cindy, seeing how many of these employees, the business owners, and I understand Mike's point completely, to see how many are gonna come on board with this, because it does benefit them. There are certain businesses out there that have had the benefit over the last number of years, quite frankly, for free municipal parking, and really not being held accountable for supplying parking for their businesses. Now, unfortunately, it's come down to somewhat of a crunch time and it's a great thing. This town is growing. It's becoming a much busier place, people coming in to visit, and as they come in, these merchants are going to hopefully see, and the town is hopefully going to see an increase in its revenues.
So when I did reach out, and some of the businesses that have replied, I did state that, we want to be able to have patrons be able to park. So a couple of them were like, well, yes, we want patrons, so they were buying into the idea. So, I'm still on the fence on the shuttle piece, because I think it's a good advertising piece as well for some of these businesses. I don't know that giving the 2 limit, which I think is gonna help us, but I still think there could be the opportunity that people are still parking there.
Again, that goes back to this is something that's in progress. It's not gonna be solved Memorial
No.
Day. It's not gonna be solved by July 4th. And it's gonna have to be tweaked as the selectmen see fit. Our job is to give them,
Right.
and I'm not sure we don't do the 2-hour, the carpooling and the shuttle. And like you said, Mr. Chair, let them
Yeah,
decide
I
how
mean, I
they
think
wanna
all 3 pieces
proceed.
should be presented, because who knows? I mean, someone may say, oh, I'll spot, someone may hear, they're sitting home watching it, because, people like to watch Monday night. There's not Monday Night Football, there's Monday Night Selectmen. They may say, oh, I know someone that may sponsor, who knows what will happen out of it. But I think all three pieces should be presented, and like we've all agreed, these are just our recommendations, and.
Option A and B are the simplest, easiest to implement.
Yeah.
Now, the fire barn / harbor master's office.
Fireman.
Are we going to, I think the selectmen will go along with having that marked
Yes.
up
Yes.
to at
Only be-
least get this stage, it gives us some place to actually point at.
And the only reason I say yes is because there's no other place for us to use. And that was one of the things that's, I think, is gonna be the easiest one for them to say yes for. I would hope, but I've been wrong before. That one's an easier one to say, yes, we should. I mean, there's 30 spots.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
the other two pieces.
But
are gonna be where we're
that
gonna
large blinking sign on the corner of Bank Street, you don't think that's gonna work, showing the parking lot at the other end?
Wait.
That was being a little bit humorous.
get. Wait, I'm like,
whoa,
wait,
what sign?
Wait, we have a sign somewhere?
No, not whatsoever.
He was just trying to get a
Take that
reaction
off.
out
No,
of
but
you.
I'm thinking.
This is
though.
April Fool's Day, you know.
I know. I have an idea.
All right, now that we have got Cindy completely confused.
No. Sorry, I'm just taking notes because I have to
It's all right.
remember
Yeah.
to type up the minutes.
Yeah.
Mike had
Does our
something too.
guest want to speak?
Does our guest like to speak before the board?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of questions I have.
Could you
And I
do,
think-
could you do one thing for us, though? Would you please come up, identify yourself?
He's shy.
Yeah. Our guest.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Richard Waystack, Harwich Port. Just a couple of questions I have in your presentation and a comment. I think you should put everything on the table for the selectmen. You've come up with a number of ideas that are good, well-thought-out ideas. Let them deal with it. The budgeting of the shuttle, they could look at it next year. They've got a potential of a 2% increase in the rental tax that could raise over $300,000 that might come into play for next year. I don't think it'll come into play for this year. But all of those discussions should be brought forward. A couple of questions, specifics. The lining of Bank Street, signage, are you going to be doing public parking signage at Bank Street? Are you going to be,
At the municipal lot. It'll have the standard international P for parking at the municipal lot.
I believe he's talking
Bank Street Fire Station, will you also have parking there, a parking sign there?
Yes, we discussed that, yeah, there'd be a parking sign.
We did discuss it.
we-
I thought we were gonna kind of put that, what we're concerned about, though, is that the general public will take advantage of that parking sign, and it will not necessarily benefit the businesses. What we had discussed was, if I'm correct now, we talked about people coming in, seeing the parking sign, taking the bikes off the back of the car, throwing the kiddies on their bike, and heading down to the beach, which isn't all that bad. But if it becomes a customary practice, the idea of making more parking spaces in the municipal lot and in the downtown area might be affected. As we say, this is a work in progress. Do you have an opinion?
Depends on the number of spots. It's already being used as public parking for the conservation lands there. It's used extensively by Harwich Conservation Trust. And I think exactly as you mentioned, if people park there, take the bikes off and take the kids down to the beach, you're alleviating the beach parking problem at Schoolhouse Road. And it doesn't have to be an over large sign, but if you had a sign there with that international P, I think it would make sense for people. I think there's more parking there than people realize, especially with the completion of the.
35 spots.
35
Yeah.
spots.
Substantial. And if you've got 15 people who are parking there, which I think is very optimistic, employees, still allowing 20 cars to park there. The other question I have is signage at Schoolhouse, at the, what is known as municipal lot right now. Will you have language with the 2-hour limit on that? And is that,
Yes.
that's part of the recommendation?
Yes,
Great.
it's on the,
I think you've done a great job, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to speak.
thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
All right. Do we have any other new business we would like to discuss?
One thing I'd like to see if we could, do this again, continue this committee, like I'd like to see it go on, because there are gonna be more challenges and more things that we need to work through, and like we had some other ideas that we just, like doing a sidewalk and doing some other things.
Yep.
I'd like to continue to see if we can, because the parking's not gonna be solved
No,
by this,
no.
hopefully helped, but I'd like to see it continue after our presentation, so maybe next fall or whatever.
Well,
Something.
this is,
I
go ahead,
believe
John.
it was set to end the end of
May
May 30th.
Right,
That was-
but I'd like to
You're
see it.
extended,
Right,
exactly.
just, I don't know,
I don't
pick it up in
disagree.
August, or pick it up in September.
As
or-
needed.
Yeah,
Well,
you know,
maybe,
keep it
but I think
going
we should,
as-
because, to Richard's point, that perhaps next year in the budget, I mean, if you look what Chatham spent, well, not Chatham, I understand, but look what Chatham
Yes.
spent on parking. A
2.4
lot of
million,
money.
whatever it was. Yeah.
And so if we're talking, $21,000 a season,
That's roughly.
no, I know,
If I
I'm
did
just,
a
I'm just,
quick
I'm just
thing.
using it as an example, right, as an example.
Sure.
That's nothing, right? So if this committee can continue, and maybe that could be part of a recommendation earlier in the process that could be put into the budget, and, other things that we could perhaps continue to tweak and work on. That's all.
well, the 16th is going to be the presentation. I think we should probably have another meeting after the 16th presentation, just to kick around again. Does anybody have an opinion with regard to that?
Well, I think we should, because we're gonna have to implement some of the stuff that happens, we're gonna, oh, no, we don't, that's right.
No, we
Oh, that's
don't.
probably me with some,
No.
some
No,
stuff for the town,
no.
I'll have to do the
No,
sign,
no.
okay.
No,
Yes, that's
no.
me, all right, sorry.
No, and not
You
you.
all still wanna come
Not
down?
you either.
Yeah, no,
You don't either.
This and signage and whatnot's gonna come
Oh,
from the
yeah.
town.
right.
So-
Let me ask you this. When this is given to the board, that's going to be up, that can be brought up, as Mike just said, with regard to continuing this into the fall season, because this is going to continue. However, the board is going to have to make the decision, as they did with regard to having an ad hoc committee, as to whether they want to continue one.
Right.
Sometimes boards fade off, and, as you all know.
Right.
But, so as I'm understanding it, that when this is given, and by the way, does anybody want to attend this date of the 16th?
I'll be there,
I'll be- I'll
I
be
have
there.
a seat in the back that I'm always in, so I'll be there with you.
Okay.
I'll be there.
You gonna be there?
You have
Okay.
to post it.
Oh, yeah,
And you need
to do
one final meeting anyway to approve the minutes of this meeting.
Right.
And the
Right.
minutes
Right.
of selectmen's, and that just is your final meeting, nothing else.
So when are we planning a meeting for when you return from your,
Yeah,
there's no
so yeah,
rush,
yeah, no, so even if we
No.
did like April,
end of April, or whenever Al's back.
so if we did like April 30th, that's a Tuesday. And then by then you're back.
yeah, April 30. What day is Memorial Day this year?
Monday.
Monday, the 28th?
Yes,
Or 29th, I should say.
Monday the
It's got a
27th.
separate day.
27th. No, wait a minute. April 27th
That would be me.
is a Saturday. So it's gonna be Monday, the 29th. Right?
We usually do it on Tuesdays,
Right.
yeah, we do
So
this
we do
special
it,
because I
we
think
do it on
someone's going away.
April 23rd, I won't be around, so I won't be back until the 27th, which is a Saturday. So
So-
if we could do it,
30th, or whatever.
the 30th, it would work, if that works for
Sure,
the other members.
okay.
Sure.
Of course, watch me forget to put this on my phone.
Huh?
Anyway. All right,
Mr. Chair, do we need a motion to move this to,
Oh, yes, sorry.
yes.
I think I were. I'm not reading all my notes here that she left me, sorry. Okay, so yes, you do need a motion to approve our presentation to the board.
so moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything further on that item? No, thank you very much. Then I may have a,
Motion to adjourn?
yes, thank you for saying that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I knew that's what you were gonna say, Mr. Chair. Oops, yeah.
Nice job.